Hello, welcome to your new favorite weekly YouTube show, Ask a Professor. My name is Daniel. I just happen to be a professor, believe it or not, and this is a weekly show where people leave me voicemails or text me or email me asking me questions about life in general or anything in specific. Uh, or you could just try to troll me or tell me a funny story. I'm into that too. So this is episode 2, and we will get right to it. All right, so we got a text message to start off. I do not know who this person is, or I will keep them anonymous. But this says, "Hey Daniel, I gotta tell you, I think I just hit a new low." Okay. My balls were sagging so much just now that when I sat down to take a shit, I somehow ended up peeing all over my own balls. That's a weird feeling. Yeah, I bet it is. And that's where it ends. Yeah, that's beautiful that you thought to share that with my educational expertise. You know, I like the diversity of information we're getting here in this show. Uh, I mean, this is a mythical moment in a man's life. I don't know, depending on your anatomy, this can happen sooner rather than later. But yeah, no shit, that's a weird feeling. Of course. You pissed all over your own balls. Okay. Thank you for that.
Ugh.
All right, I got a voicemail here. Where is it at? All right.
Hi, Professor Daniel. I have a question for you. Why is it that, when you think about somebody or you have a dream about somebody from your past, they always seem to be a lot better in your head than how they were in person? And then when you sit there and really think about it, you realize that person really wasn't that cool, but in your head and in your dream, they were a really cool person? I just wanted to see what your input would be on that. Thanks. Bye.
Is this, I say one thing about some white girl magic last week about dreams. Hopefully this doesn't become the dream show, because, yeah, the world doesn't need that. I mean,
You stupid.
the short answer is that, but that's probably because everyone's memory is idealized, right? We don't remember things exactly the way they happened. We remember the good or the bad parts, and that's probably just a way of coping with situations, especially if someone's a shitty person. You're either not coming back from thinking about them as a shitty person forever, or to deal with it and move on, you remember the good parts or glorify them maybe a little bit. But I think that's also a sign of a nice person, of an empathetic person is that you are giving these people the benefit of the doubt, it seems like. And so that's probably a good quality to have. Yeah, especially if that's a thing that you've done since you were young, too. Um, in moments of like, if it's someone that you had a crush on or something like that, you create this persona about them before you even know them. And it's usually not even close to reality. But yeah, what are you going to ask me about the person you're dating and their sign next? I don't know anything about that. I don't know. I have no weight. I have no bet in any of that stuff. I don't know how I feel about it or anything like that. Compatibility and shit like that. I don't know. That's broad brush nonsense. I can rattle off a bunch of shit off the top of my head that could probably fit into horoscopes and I don't know. I'm a Aries with the Cancer moon and the Sag rising, and I don't know, something about a Capri Sun. I don't know. But as much as I want to make fun of it, I'm not going to act like I don't go on Google and look at this person's compatibility with my sign and be like, well, maybe that's why it didn't work out or whatever it may be. Oh, that's why that person was a piece of shit, because their sign is the egotistical one. I've never related to any of the stuff that I've seen about my specific sign, but also one of the most common characteristics of my sign supposedly is stubbornness. So part of me wants to be like, oh shit, they got me pegged, and I'm just so stubborn that I don't believe anything about me. But no, I mean, by and large, I'm an Aries, and I don't any of the characteristics, at least like the base level ones that are listed on any Google search. I'm like, nah, like wanting to be the leader. You think I want to be the leader? No. I don't want to deal with that kind of failure. I don't want to be in charge of failure. I'll be the guy like in the back, like, I don't think, yeah, whatever we're doing, I don't think this is a good idea. Oh, we're going to do it anyway? All right, fuck it. Well, I tried. That's kind of my personality. What else? What are some other characteristics? Being super social and wanting to be the center of attention. Yeah, no thanks. I'm okay. I like being super social in groups of like 3 people. And people that I actually like. But I did do, in the quarantine boredom, I did the full horoscope reading where you put in the time that you're born and the specifics of all of that. And that was pretty accurate. But like I said, it's so kind of wide sweeping that I don't know how serious anyone should be taking that. But thank you for your email, or your voicemail, sorry, even though I kind of made fun of you a little bit. All right, I got another text. It says, how long, if at any point were you unsure, did it take you to realize that you wanted to go to grad school? Oh, what you wanted to go to grad school for? And what made you choose teaching? Ooh, that's if at any point were you unsure, yeah, of course. It's especially now with everything seeming to be crumbling around us. Um, how long did it take me to realize I wanted to go to grad school? Well, if you, like a lot of people that I know, have a bachelor's degree, you have the beautiful pleasure of realizing that a bachelor's degree, even though it took you, it never takes just 4 years. I think it took me 5.5 years. And I'm talking, I was going in junior college when I was knocking out prerequisites and like general ed. I was going all year long for 2.5 years, summer, winter, all those in between classes just to get it done with. So yeah, it took me like 5.5 years just to get a bachelor's. Put myself in a pretty significant amount of debt because I had to. And then you go on the job search and everyone is paying maybe $1 more than minimum wage, which is criminal. Like minimum wage is already fucked as it is. It doesn't exist. At least in like the moral, ethical sense that like working full time for minimum wage, you should be able to afford a place to live and like all the basic necessities. So yeah, $1 more than minimum wage. So at that point in time, it would have been like $11 an hour, and not even that, not even the pay. It was just the requirements that they had of this imaginary person that there's no way existed. Like 10 years of experience. Like I'm 22, or however old you are when you graduate with a bachelor's degree. They want all X, Y, and Z, and that's just not going to happen. And I've heard that they just do that to intimidate people that are underqualified. But yeah, and then I just started, once I realized, getting a job like that wasn't going to allow me any sort of ability to support myself. I started breaking down what it even meant to me to have a full-time real job, like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And I just knew it would be soul crushing. I just knew that my happiness and sanity was more important than trudging through some shitty job 5 days a week. And we're at the point now where it's like, I will work a job that I hate 40 hours a week, but let me get those 40 hours out of the way in 3 days and give me 4 days off. Because I need that much free time to work on things that I want to work on, explore things that I want to explore, go places that I want to go, just to maintain any semblance of happiness. So yeah, just being a corporate schmuck or any sort of 9 to 5 office troll where your body starts molding to your office chair and you just go through a drive-through every day for lunch. Like the gun would start entering. So I knew that to have a job that allowed me enough free time to maintain happiness and sanity, I was going to have to go to grad school. And let me preface that by saying that I have a pretty simple life. I don't have a very high overhead. I'm very low maintenance. I'm not a fancy person. And I don't want or have a family, so I don't have these big expenses. So it doesn't take much for me to maintain the minimal lifestyle that I already live. So I knew that in order to secure any sort of security is probably not even the right word because it's unstable being an adjunct professor. It could go away at any point in time, and it could be doubled and tripled at any point in time too. So you got to just like play it as it comes. And I'm very fortunate, even given this pandemic, that I was able to quickly transition online because I'm one of the younger professors, so I'm up to date with technology to some degree. So yeah, I just knew that I needed to go to grad school to live the type of life that I wanted to live, despite putting myself in even more debt, a laughable amount of debt at this point. It doesn't even seem real. I would do it a million times over again, just for the experience alone, just for the personal growth alone, specifically in the type of work that I produce now. What made me choose teaching? It's not necessarily that I chose teaching per se. So when I graduated with a bachelor's, I thought, what am I going to do? And I thought about getting some sort of design job. But I don't know much about building things in computer programs, which is like the way of the future, right? And I don't think that I have the aesthetic that fits well in computer graphics, regardless of if I know the programs or not. I could teach myself the programs, I'm sure. But yeah, my aesthetic probably doesn't lend itself well to computer programs. So that was a pretty quick axing of that idea. And then I thought about maybe if I go get a teaching credential, I could just be the cool high school art teacher. Well, I got into a program to do that. In the first semester, luckily, they put me in a high school art class to do student teaching. And I don't know if you've been around high school age kids, but not for me, kids in general, but yeah, high school age kids. I mean, talk about the level of disassociation. Like, hey, why did you throw that ball of clay at the ceiling? I didn't. I just watched you with my own eyeballs do it. Whatever, shut up, Jesus. So it's just like, okay. And then once you get into the public education system, much like every system in this country that we're finding out right now, the public education system is failing its children so offensively that I just didn't want to partake in that. And I mean, education, I think, is that the systemic, that the base of every problem that we have. But this type of capitalism and whatever you want to call it, oligarchy or whatever, can't exist without this huge separation of education and miseducation, or undereducated, underaccessed, underfunded, disparages. So yeah, I didn't want to take part in that system, and I'm still partaking in a system that's, I don't think, very ethical in some senses. Like, there's still, at this point, most schools are run like profit-making institutions. So I have my qualms with that, but once you get into higher education, into even, I'm at a community college, so it's like a huge spectrum of different people in different age groups, but most of the responsibility is taken off you. In K through 12, it's your fault if the child isn't learning or performing at a certain level. In higher education, it's like, well, they don't show up and they don't turn in the work, so I don't know what to tell you. So I like that dynamic a lot more. I really enjoy teaching people something that they thought they could never be good at or proficient at. And especially the diversity alone, where specifically where I teach, like diversity on every level, from like background, age, race, economic, all that stuff. It's just much more interesting to be interacting with that type of dynamic. But yeah, choosing teaching, I don't know. It's tough trying to figure out something practical, right? And so choosing a creative type of lifestyle is hard to justify to normal people, right? Because it's not practical really ever, and it's a life of suffering to some extent. Like the arc of the amount of struggle you have to go through before the payoff is pretty significant, and a lot of times it doesn't happen till later in your life, if at all. So I just had to be ready to accept that it could just never happen. So I needed some sort of practical base that like feeds into creativity on some point and is helping people to some degree. I think it's really important to. There's a quote, I forget where it's from. It's like if you're smart enough or aware enough to know better, you should do better. So I have this kind of built-in idea that on some level everyone needs to give back, right? And that's a broad term that can mean anything. You know, I don't have the social energy to do super big things like charity work and like constantly be involved with, you know, hundreds of people at a time. That's just not something that I have enough energy for, but I praise everyone that does that stuff. So I'm just trying to figure out what little niche I could fit into as far as societal contribution goes. And then also like constantly checking my impact or my, you know, minimizing my negative impact on society, the planet, my footprint, and so on and so forth. So that's why I chose teaching. Yes. And then it kind of like is one of those things where it becomes deeper than you expected. So in some ways it like chose me on some level, I suppose. Because there was a good year or so where I was like, I don't know if I'm good enough for this, right? I don't know if I'm doing the things that these students need to succeed. But now I'm in the pocket. I'm in the zone. So yeah. Well, thanks everyone for your voicemails and texts and emails. I'll get to some more next week. And keep them coming. And I'll sift through and get to them eventually. But I'll see you next week.